They say that space is silent. They tell you that in a vacuum no sound can travel, that the cosmos is a vast, mute ocean of stars and dust. That is the first lie they teach you at the academy. It is a comforting lie. It suggests that the void is empty, indifferent, and peaceful. But ask any veteran of the deep range, ask the men and women who patrol the bleeding edge of known space, and they will tell you the truth. The void isn't silent. It is holding its breath. It is waiting. And sometimes, if you listen closely enough to the static between radio frequencies, you can hear it hungry. Tonight, we are not talking about the triumphs of exploration or the wonders of colonization. We are going beyond the polished press releases of the Federation. We are stepping into the dark, cold reality that keeps humanity safe while it sleeps. We are talking about the untold stories of the space demon hunters. To understand the hunters, you first have to understand the prey. For centuries, humanity looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. We hoped for neighbors. We hoped for wisdom. What we found when we finally cracked the faster-than-light barrier was not a civilization of benevolent aliens. We found the sublayer. To fold space, to travel between stars in a heartbeat, our engines have to punch a hole through a dimension that sits beneath our reality. It is a realm of chaotic energy, of physics that defy logic, and of entities that defy sanity. We call them demons, not out of religious superstition, but because we lack a better word in our scientific vocabulary to describe things that hate life with such singular, concentrated purity. They are creatures of energy and malice, living shadows that claw at the hull of every ship that engages its warp drive. This is where the hunters come in. Formally, they are known as the Void Interdiction Squadrons. Informally, they are the Exorcists in exo-suits. They are the ones who go where the containment fields fail. Let me tell you the story of the USG Ishimura incident, not the one you saw in the movies, but the real classified report from the archives of the 44th Division. It was supposed to be a routine mining operation in the Theta sector. The Ishimura went dark 48 hours after initiating a deep-core crack jump. When the distress beacon finally activated, it wasn't sending coordinates. It was broadcasting the sound of screaming. Not human screaming, but the sound of metal screaming, as if the ship itself was in agony. Captain Elias Thorne and his squad, the Void Walkers, were the nearest response team. Thorne was a legend in the Corps. He was a man who had spent more time in the sublayer than in real space. His skin was pale, his eyes permanently bloodshot from the pressure of the void helms. He knew that when a ship screams, it's usually too late. When Thorne's dropship clamped onto the Ishimura's airlock, the first thing they noticed was the temperature. It wasn't the cold of space. It was a localized, unnatural chill that penetrated their thermal shielding. The interior of the ship was covered in a frost that looked like gray ash. The lights were flickering, powered by emergency reserves, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to detach themselves from the walls. Thorne ordered his squad to engage spectral visors. You see, you cannot fight these things with standard ballistics alone. A bullet passes through a ghost. A laser burns through air. To kill a space demon, you need ammunition infused with ionic salts and localized reality anchors. You need to force the entity to obey the laws of physics so you can kill it. As they moved toward the bridge, the ship began to play tricks on them. This is the hallmark of a demonic incursion. It attacks the mind before it attacks the body. Private Jenkins, the squad's heavy weapons specialist, started hearing his dead daughter's voice over the comms channel. She was asking him to take off his helmet. She was begging him to join her in the cold. Jenkins was a hardened soldier, but the grief weaponized against him was almost potent enough to make him break formation. Thorne had to physically slam his gauntlet against Jenkins' chest plate to snap him out of the trance. "It's not her," Thorne growled. "It's the hunger." Don't feed it. They reached the mess hall, and that's where they found the crew, or what was left of them. They hadn't been killed by weapons. They had been fused. The demonic influence had warped reality so severely that flesh and metal had merged. It was a grotesque tapestry of humanity and starship architecture, and standing in the center of it was the focal point. It was a Class 5 manifestation, a towering horror of shifting geometry, oil-slick darkness, and burning eyes. It didn't walk, it flowed. It was trying to open a permanent gateway, using the ship's reactor as a battery and the crew's biomass as a catalyst. If it succeeded, it wouldn't just consume the Ishimura. It would spill the sublayer into the Theta sector, consuming every colony within 10 light-years. Thorn didn't hesitate. This is the part of the job the recruitment posters don't show you. It's not about glory. It's about calculus. The calculus of sacrifice. Thorn knew their standard weapons wouldn't be enough to close a rift that size. He signaled his squad to fall back to the airlock. He was going to overload his suit's reactor. He was going to turn himself into a miniature supernova right in the entity's face. But the demon knew. It surged forward, a tidal wave of despair. It slammed Thorn against the bulkhead, pinning him with invisible force. The squad opened fire, their rounds flashing with blue ionic sparks as they struck the creature's hide, but it was like throwing stones at a tsunami. That was when Thorn did the unthinkable. He disengaged his helmet seals. In the vacuum of space, this kills you. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was toxic, filled with the spores of the entity. But Thorn didn't do it to breathe. He did it to speak. You see, there are old rites, older than spaceflight, passed down through the secretive orders of the hunters. Words that resonate on a psychic frequency. Thorn looked into the eyes of the abyss and spoke the words of binding. His voice, raw and bleeding, cut through the psychic scream of the creature. The demon recoiled. For a split second, its form solidified. It became matter. And in that second, it was vulnerable. Thorn, lungs burning, jammed a fragmentation grenade into the creature's exposed core and kicked himself away. The explosion didn't just blow the creature apart. The reality anchors in the grenade snapped the local physics back into place. The rift collapsed with a sound like a thunderclap, sucking the demon and the corruption back into the hell it came from. Thorn survived, barely. He spent 6 months in a regeneration tank, his lungs replaced with cybernetics, his skin scarred by the touch of the void. But the Ishimura incident is just one file in a cabinet that stretches for miles. The existence of these hunters creates a profound philosophical dilemma for humanity. We are a species built on logic, on science, on the belief that everything can be explained and categorized. Space demon hunters represent the fringe where science breaks down and something else takes over. Consider the equipment they use. It's a blend of high-tech engineering and something dangerously close to occultism. Their armor is inscribed with microscopic laser-etched runes, mathematical formulas that act as wards against psychic intrusion. Their ships are blessed by chaplains who are also quantum physicists. They live in a world where a prayer and a plasma rifle are equally necessary for survival. And what of the psychological toll? You cannot stare into the abyss day after day without the abyss leaving a mark. Most hunters don't retire to a quiet life on a farm. They can't. Normal life feels fake to them. The silence of a bedroom at night feels too much like the waiting silence of the dark between stars. They often stay in the service until they die or until they become too unstable to deploy. There is a secret facility on the dark side of humanity's moon, Titan. It's called the Sanctuary. It's not a prison, but it's not a hospital either. It's where the hunters go when their minds have fractured. There are men and women there who sit in padded rooms, staring at blank walls, whispering coordinates to invasions that haven't happened yet. They are the casualties of a war that the rest of the galaxy doesn't even know is being fought. One such resident is Commander Valerius. 10 years ago, he led a raid into a hulk, a massive amalgamation of wrecked ships drifting in the deep void. Hulks are breeding grounds for these entities. Valerius went in with a squad of 20. He came out alone. He never speaks about what happened in the center of that twisted wreck. But sometimes the staff at the sanctuary find him drawing diagrams. Complex, four-dimensional star charts that don't match any known sector of our galaxy. When they ask him what they are, he simply says, "It's the map they use to find us." This brings us to the most terrifying realization of all. The demons aren't just random predators. They aren't just space sharks attracted to the blood in the water. They are intelligent, they are organized, and they are testing our defenses. Every year, the incursions get slightly more sophisticated. The entities adapt to our ionic weaponry. They learn to bypass the rune wards on our hulls. It is an arms race between human ingenuity and cosmic horror. The hunters are the only line of defense, a thin gray line of ceramite and courage standing against an encroaching night that has no end. So, why do they do it? Why volunteer for a job that guarantees insanity or death? I once interviewed a rookie hunter, a young woman named Sarah. She had just finished her augmentation surgery, her eyes replaced with cybernetics capable of perceiving the subspectra of the warp. I asked her why she signed up. She told me about her home colony, a small farming rock on the edge of the Perseus Arm. She told me how, when she was a child, the shadows in the cornfield started to whisper. She saw what happens when no one comes to help. She survived by hiding in a lead-lined irrigation pump for 3 days while something stalked her family outside. "I do it," she told me, "so that no other kid has to hide in the dark. I do it so that when the shadows whisper, I can whisper back." That is the essence of the space demon hunter. They are the monsters we create to fight the monsters we discover. They sacrifice their humanity piece by piece, an arm for a cybernetic claw, an eye for a sensor, a soul for a shield, so that the rest of us can remain human. The next time you look up at the night sky and you see the beautiful twinkling blanket of stars, remember that the beauty is a veil. Behind it lies the cold, hungry dark. But remember also that in that dark there are wolves patrolling the perimeter. They are scarred, they are terrified, and they are dangerous. But they are ours. They patrol the silence so that we may live in the noise. They burn so that we do not freeze. They are the unsung, the unthanked, the unseen. And as we push further out, past the safety of our solar system, past the beacons of the known world, we will need them more than ever. Because the universe is not empty, it is crowded, and it does not want us there. The story of the space demon hunters is not a story of victory. It is a story of survival. It is a story of holding the door shut against a storm that never ends. And as long as there is breath in their lungs and power in their cells, that door will hold. But the static is getting louder. The incursions are getting more frequent. And Commander Valerius's maps are starting to make sense to the strategists. The hunters are preparing for something big. A storm is coming, one that might shatter the veil entirely. So sleep well tonight. Dream of safe terrestrial things. Ignore the creaking of the house settling in the wind. Ignore the momentary flicker of the street lamp outside your window. It's probably nothing, just a glitch in the grid. But if you wake up in the dead of night and the silence feels heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm, and the shadows in the corner of your room seem to be leaning towards you, pray. Pray that a hunter is nearby. Because if the void has found you, Nothing else can save you. We are explorers in a haunted house. We have kicked open the door, and now we have to deal with what lives in the basement. The hunters are down there right now, in the dark, with their flamethrowers and their runes, keeping the things at bay. Let their story be a reminder. The light of civilization is fragile. It is a candle in a hurricane, and the space demon hunters are the cupped hands protecting the flame. Stay vigilant, watch the shadows, and never, ever trust the silence.